this league, the UFL, is going to be the first domestic spring league of its type since the 80s iteration of the USFL to actually complete a third consecutive season. And barring unforeseen circumstances, barring anything that we don't know about, or the collective bargaining agreement. Remember that the CBA expires this year, and this is going to be the first negotiation under Mike Rapoli's ownership. Provided that those things do not go south, then the UFL is going to be heading toward to a fourth season. And that is a watershed moment, I think, not just for the league, but also for the sports ecosystem. And I think, in the words of a politician at one point, that is a big effing deal. It really is. Why? Because since 2019, and really throughout the decades, there have been a lot of fits and starts in terms of spring football. I think about, of course, the more recent iterations, AAF, XFL, USFL, that sort of thing. But definitely the UFL seems to be the league that's finally sticking. And we love to see it. Ratings are up. The attendance is down. There's a lot of stuff that has to be worked on in that. But you do feel the energy now, I think, more than any other point within the UFL. And I've said on the show that I think that Mike Rapoli, who I met earlier this week, this past Thursday, um, he is somebody who I think has been really the best thing to happen to spring football since Vince McMahon. People can say whatever about Vince McMahon. I know that Vince McMahon, is he exactly a role model or somebody who I think to take example of in some instances? Not necessarily. But there's no doubt that the only other person really who has really brought a lot of the juice um, in this has been Vince McMahon. So to see Mike Rapoli have that energy and really bring in a lot of good things, a lot of good rule changes, the 4-point field goal, that sort of thing, past 60 yards, that sort of thing, I think has really been great. And when you look at the team, you're only as strong as your weak link. Daryl Johnston, I thought, was the weakest link in this. I said on the show, I wouldn't have kept him. I would not have kept him in this. I was glad that it was addition by subtraction for me in terms of his departure. He made about as much sense running the league as Christy Nome does running PETA. So definitely, he will not have pulled off a lot of these things that we're seeing. Concerts, 50 Cent, that sort of thing. And I think that the concerts were genius in terms of really drawing in casual fans, at least to the openers. It did not extend it to a lot of um, attendance to some of these markets, especially Birmingham. Not a good future for Birmingham in this, I can tell you that. It's looking like just about a disaster. Maybe not the disaster that the Continental Football League is, but definitely it's not looking good over there in Birmingham. It really isn't. And what's also not going to be good for the NFL snobs and the CFL snobs is to see Audi hacked to the gills today. They're going to see a packed stadium. You're going to see a lot of energy, and you're going to see a lot of excitement. And the CFL snobs, they are very worried about the UFL, and they should be. Why? Because let's just say that with the next CBA, that the salaries go a little closer to what the low end of the CFL salary scale is when adjusting for US dollars. If you do that, then a lot of the people that would stay, that would go up to Canada, I should say, a lot of the people that would otherwise go to Canada would stay right here at home. And what's interesting is that the CFL are Americanizing a lot of their game. So, what does that tell you? Right there. So, the other people that are also not happy to see the success of the UFL are the NHL stands. Ratings are up. The ratings are higher than the NHL in terms of the regular season. When comparing regular season to regular season, the UFL exceeded the regular season of hockey. And what's fascinating for me is that Disney, they pay $400 million, $400 million to air NHL games. And yes, the NHL, granted, is far more established than the UFL. But think about this. If I'm getting higher ratings, all right, if I'm getting higher ratings, ESPN has an ownership stake in this. Disney has an ownership stake in the league. Higher ratings, ownership stake, and I have a sport with high upside, football, American football, that is. I know that we got the World Cup going on, but American football has the high upside, a much higher upside than hockey. And when you look at that, I think I'm sitting pretty. If I'm an owner of the league, if I'm an investor, then I see that there is a much higher ceiling. I'm not sure if you saw the article from Pro Football Talk, Mike Florio, about, oh, what's the ceiling of the UFL? If you've watched the show, I've said this, 2.2 million is the average ratings for preseason NFL games. Preseason NFL games, 2.2 million viewers. So the closer you get to that, I think the better it is that this league will be. Now, a lot of games have gone over 1 million viewers. I've at least 5 or 6 of them from my count. So that is really, really good. So you hope that the momentum continues for this league. It seems to me at this point, I am more convinced now than ever that this league, the UFL, is not going away. I think I am in a much better position. If I'm the UFL, I'm in a much better position than what the Continental Football League is doing. I think that the Continental League is a disaster, real disaster. And I think that when you look at the financial aspects of it, I think that there is a case that Disney are overpaying for NHL rights. When going back to some of the numbers aspects of it, I think that based on the average ratings exceeding the NHL, there is a case that Disney, in the next renegotiation of rights, I think that's going to have to be adjusted. UFL is cheaper, you're getting higher ratings, got an ownership stake, and I got a higher upside sport in terms of football. So let's see what happens. Let's pay attention in the offseason to the storylines. I think the two big storylines, the CBA and Birmingham's future, which is not particularly great in this. And, again, just the last thing I'll say in terms of that high upside, NFL ratings have never been higher. College football, everybody's like, oh, well, the NIL is ruining sports and that sort of thing. College football ratings have never been higher. So if I'm Mike Rapoli, I'm happy as a clam to see what is going to happen later today. And really, I think with the league as a whole, attendance still has to be worked on, but I think that that's easily corrected. Watch some of our shows. We've talked a lot about some of that. So well done to the league. And I think that, again, history in so many ways are going to be made. So looking forward to the game. Thanks for watching. YouTube.com/the CSE channel. Spring football has sprung. Season finale next week. And please, please, please don't fumble in the end zone.